Good afternoon. So, in this lesson, you're going to learn how to construct a four-legged creature. It doesn't have to be real like my horse. This horse is looking pretty much like a stuffed animal or a cartoon. It can be an imaginary creature, a mythical creature, a scary creature, a cute creature. It's any type of four-legged creature that you want to make. Now, just because it has four legs doesn't mean it has to stand on those four legs. It might be sitting down with two legs on the ground and the other two in the front propping it up. Or it may be lying down altogether, curled up in a ball, the way a cat sleeps sometimes. So don't think that your four-legged creature has to look exactly like this. It does not. You do not have to draw a picture, but sometimes drawing for me helps me to better understand my plan. It becomes my plan, so I can see proportions, shapes, the number of things. I can make notes around the figure to show me what it is I need to do. And of course, there's always the challenge later on of attaching one piece of clay to the other using modeling tools and water, a process called slipping and scoring. Very important so your piece does not fall apart. So you see under the camera everything that I think I'm going to need. I have a sheet of manila paper for my work surface. I have one sheet of paper towel here, some modeling tools. You probably only need one, but you're welcome to have more than one. And of course, I have a little bit of water. I'm right-handed, so most of these things go off to my right side. You can see this ball of clay has quite a bit of water in it, and just leaving it on the paper, the water leaves the clay and soaks into the paper. So it might be that when you have clay, it might seem too damp, like it has too much water in it. And that's okay as long as it's not sticking to your fingers. As you work with the clay and press it against the paper and handle it in your warm palms, water will come out of the clay just sitting here without me touching it. Water is evaporating from the clay, and as the water evaporates, the clay becomes drier and stiffer. So it's very important not to have too much water, and it's also very important not to have too little water. Now remember that I can roll a ball, and that's a basic form because it's three-dimensional. And that might be the head of my creature, I don't know. I might make another smaller ball for the muzzle of my creature. That would be the snout coming out. I'm not still sure yet of proportions, but I can always adjust proportions or size later on. I might have to get more clay, I don't know. Let me see if I can make some legs here. I detect a little bit of unevenness to the quality of this clay. One little patch that's a bit thicker than the others, a bit drier than the others. So you notice how I worked it in my hands briefly, warmed up the clay, worked the clay into a consistent texture, and then I'm going to go ahead and form a ball out of that. So there was some unevenness with the clay, and I worked that unevenness out. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off four pieces of clay, roll them into the ball, put them here side by side under the camera, and let's see if the balls appear to be the same in size or if there's any difference. Again, working that clay with my hands to dry it out and also to make the texture of the clay more uniform, more of the same. Okay, here's a third one. So far, so good. Now, what happens if visually they don't look the same? These four balls that I'm going to be making here, haven't finished the fourth one yet, these are going to be the four legs of my creature. Remember, you're making a four-legged animal. So here comes the fourth ball. Looking under the camera, it seems to me that this last one might be a little bit bigger than the other three. So what I can do here is simply pinch off some of that extra clay that I don't need, roll the ball again so we can make a good comparison of the last one with the earlier three. It's getting closer. It may still be a little bit bigger. Take off a little bit more, roll it back into a ball. So you see, if you need to make two or more parts the same size, a good way to start is with four balls of clay of similar size or of equal size, okay? Now it looks like I'm missing the body and the neck of my piece. I can set these aside, start to work with those again. That head might be a little large, but we'll worry about that later. Here's some clay large enough for my body, so let's get going with that. Again, if the clay seems too sticky, sticking to your hands, then it could be a little too wet. This might be just a little too wet. You see it sticking to my hands, but it's not bad. And the more I work with the clay and warm the clay with my hands, the faster the clay dries out. Not that you want to do that. Only if your clay seems too damp do you want to warm it and dry it. Now you see me using the palms of my hands, the ball of my hand here, the heel of my hand. You can see where I am patting the clay here and here in order to get that large ball form made. So this could be my body. I think I don't have a neck yet, but I think I'm going to go ahead and roll out these legs and see what's going to happen with their sizing. Remember that if you press gently, rocking back and forth using this stronger part of your hand, you will get what's called a coil. Now, because you cannot see me rolling the clay, because I can't see me rolling the clay, my hand's in the way, you can almost imagine having to close your eyes and feel that it's correct. So there's one leg, not too bad, pretty uniform, not too thick, not too thin. Remember, nothing skinnier than your pinky if you can help it, because skinny things do break. Definitely no skinny legs, okay, because those certainly will break. Let's see if I can get 3 more done in a similar size and shape. Here's my coil. It feels right. I'm going to pat the ends to flatten them a little bit against the work surface. Compare those two, not bad. Not bad. I'll continue to use this first one as my guide, as my gauge. Again, you can see all the water coming out of the clay and soaking into the work surface. That's drawing the clay out very rapidly. Okay, here's my third. Pretty good, all 3 looking pretty similar. Let's just continue to compare to the first. Here comes the 4th and final. Now remember, guys, that these would not look all the same unless you started with the same amount of clay. And having 4 balls of clay that are exactly the same size, or at least kind of giving the impression that they're the same size because they look the same, that's a way to start, okay? So I'm telling you this just because it works for me. Hopefully it will work for you. So here's my 4th and final leg. If the animal has 2 legs bigger and 2 legs smaller, of course you can work with it that way. So I'm going to attach these legs, and I might, as they dry, form the animal's hooves or some other features of the animal, okay? But not quite time to do that. Normally we wait till the clay is a little drier to do those finishing touches. Remember that when you attach one piece of clay to the other, it's very important that you slip and score. So bringing my water over here, making many, maybe 2 dozen, maybe 3 dozen, small cuts. Very important to bring water over with your modeling tool to create some wet liquid clay as you're scoring. You see that? Quite wet, quite liquid. If this surface is to attach to that one, I've got to do the same thing here. You cannot cut corners. You have to take your time doing this. If you didn't have this tool, you could just as easily do it, say, with this tool, just because there's enough of an edge there to use. Although this definitely would not be my favorite tool, I could still use it. See the mushy clay and all that scoring, and you just wiggle those 2 areas together, clean up any excess that squirts out, and by wiggling and pressing and slipping and scoring, that piece will not fall off. So you can see how this will eventually develop. Slipping and scoring is very important. Slipping and scoring, each surface that has to attach, there's that surface, there's this surface. All right. Okay, wiggling and pushing. Those are nice sturdy legs. Let's go back here and do the same. You can begin to pose the piece and see what you like. Do you want it sitting on its back end? Do you want it standing on all 4s? Do you want one leg in the air? There's a lot that can still be changed because the clay can still be shaped. The clay still has the ability to be shaped. When there's water in the clay, when the clay can be shaped, the quality that clay possesses is called plasticity. It is plastic. It has the ability to be shaped. Not plastic as it is a material, but plastic in that it is of a nature that you can shape it, okay? So the clay, when it's wet and can be shaped, has a quality referred to as plasticity. Wiggle and press. Do one more leg here. It's not taking too long. Remembering again, not to make everything wet, but only slip and score those areas that need to touch and attach, okay? And I think I've already done this one. It wouldn't hurt to add a little more water there. So I see it's a little bit shiny. One more time. Press, a little wiggle. You can wipe around the edges. So here is the body of my piece. You can see that it's standing. The legs are very sturdy. I can begin to manipulate the legs, bring them in if I wanted to. From time to time, I might still want to press and smooth a little bit if the legs pop off like that one just did. But basically, that's good. Maybe this one can be up in the air, and I'm going to bend it back like this. There's no reason I can't do that because the other legs will hold it up. I will let that dry in that position. This head appears to be too big for me now that I can see its relationship to the body of the piece. So I'm going to pinch some off and make that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and dry that clay out a little bit because it's still kind of wet. Pinch some more off. There we go. And here I have my head. Maybe before I attach the head, I need to form a neck, so let me go ahead and grab some clay for the neck. The clay I grabbed for the neck is still quite damp, so I'm going to dry it out a little bit. You can see I'm using my hands a lot. If the neck is too wet, it may not support the weight of the head, so we've got to dry that out a little bit. And here I'm going to test out the features. Let's see, head and neck. That's an awfully big nose now, which might be kind of cute or not. I think I'm going to make it smaller. The difference in size might be kind of cute, but I don't think I like it as well. Here, making the nose smaller. So you see, I'm learning as I go. I'm judging as I go. I'm examining and questioning as I go. I still think I want that a little bit smaller. Let's go ahead and attach the neck to the body. I might shape the head a little bit differently, like this. Slip and score, slip and score, slip and score, slip and score. Lots and lots. And of course, both surfaces have to be slipped and scored. So this will be his nose or muzzle. So those are both slipped and scored. Put those together. Okay. If I wanted to, I could take my modeling tool and smooth them together, make the joint less noticeable, a little smoother as one piece joins with the other. That might seem a little bit better. And so it goes, boys and girls. And what you'll see happening then when I finally complete this is that it will have an appearance of like a cartoon horse. Now, it could be that my neck in this case is very different from the one in my drawing. It doesn't mean that you have to initially or originally draw your piece out. I do so just to have an idea of what I'm going to do. It also doesn't mean that I have to stick with that idea. I can change it as I go. Remember, lots of slipping and scoring. Don't forget, we put those two together like that. It's looking a little strange, but not too bad. A little bigger than I thought it would be, but not too bad. The neck and the head are going to go on the body now. I don't think I'll finish this up because I guess you get the idea of where I'm going. Every time pieces attach, they should be slipped and scored. Both surfaces, here's the bottom of the neck going on the body, and grabbing a little bit of water each and every time I set up to score, and knowing that the scoring and the slipping is so very important. Let's put those two together with a little pressure and a little wiggle. Raise the neck up, which is quite soft right now, and hopefully it'll stay in place when I release it. And I can see that as this dries, I can continue to detail it out some more. You see a little bit of a blob there. Let's give this guy some personality by changing the direction of the neck, bringing one foot a little bit farther up. There's the back leg. How about bending that one like that? I'm playing with directions right now to come up with a little sense of movement in the figure. I'm not done yet, but I'm certainly getting a sense of what it might look like when I am done. Okay, now you try.